What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Trash Pick Trading Cards. And today, for Trash Pick Thursdays, we're going to be looking at the current state of Destined Rivals. So, as you know, when Pokemon sets are released, the prices are way up here, and then they go yeep, all the way down. So, we're going to take a gander and see how these prices are holding up for the Mewtwo, for Lapras, and for all of the cards in Destined Rivals, and just do a little bit of a market review to see where we're at in that market stabilization process. Are we going to be on the uptrend? Are we stabilizing? Have we reached that threshold? What are we doing? How are we doing it? We're going to check this out. Let's head right into it. All right, everybody. So we are on the TCG Player, and we're going to be using this to establish market stabilization for Destined Rivals. So we're going to go to Pokemon, Destined Rivals, going to click on it, shop single cards, and we're going to price high to low. And we're just going to go down the line and see where we're at for each card and see where that market stabilization is at for them. Okay, so we're just going to go from top to bottom and let's kind of do that. So this is the Team Rocket's Mewtwo SR, the highly sought after special illustration rare for Destined Rivals. There is no market chart here to see, but we can do view more data. So we had near mint sell at 386, near mint sell at 425, light play sell at 335. So pretty consistent sales for that $300, $400 price range. I'm not sure. This must be Japanese. This must have been a Japanese one. Nope, it wasn't. I'm wondering why this sold for $300. Maybe it's because from an unregistered seller. That is possible. And the exit out of took me to a different screen. Not really sure why, but save a damage at 299. Pretty consistent market stabilization at that price point, which is fairly high, especially for new sets. So we should be seeing this kind of like drop down a little bit to that. I would say like 350 price range probably is a good price range for Team Rocket's Mewtwo that we should see that market stabilization at as more copies come into rotation, but we'll see. The next thing we're going to be doing is Cynthia's Garchomp. So this card was like $250. We saw a massive drop here down in the 190s, and then we're back up at the 209. So that's really good for the market for the card, as we're seeing that market retracement on the Destined Rivals. And so we're kind of like trying to see where that market's going to stabilize. Again, this card when it came out was $250, $300 selling on eBay, and we're starting to see that market retracement back to that market threshold. And then the next one we have is the Ethan's Ho-Ho EX, arguably one of the prettiest cards in this set. So this card's kind of like doing the opposite than the first two. It's not uncommon to see a set with really big cards in it, but traditionally what you see is you have like one big chase, and then you'll have a couple cards that kind of like stabilize in that 100 to 150 range, and then everything else is usually under $100. So I'm starting to see that trend with this set where we're getting this card to kind of like level out in this price area. But you do have a near mint listed at 125. It is from an unregistered seller, so you're kind of like rolling those dice. And then a 150 from registered seller. So that's totally up to you on buying those on TCG Player. You have the Moltres, which is the next one. Again, it's uncommon to see cards, this many big cards in a modern set so high. And this card's like doing the bipolar opposite. This one is like spiking. I think this is because it just didn't get enough love coming out the gate for the value. And so if we look at like more market data, and look at the original sells from the original set, I mean, you had one sell for 117. So I'm not sure. It's always been about this 130 price range, so I'm not sure why it's saying that it's on the spike. I guess because this is like where it started when it sold on 114 price point, and then it just shot up to here, which is only a 4% increase, but overall, you know, we're starting to see that stabilization of the card of some variety as that trend line is starting to go right instead of up or down. But again, a very beautiful card. I think this would look great in like a Beckett Black label versus the PSA red lighthouse frame, but that's just me. And then the next one we have is the Team Rocket's Neto King. See, this one is again doing the opposite. We had that bottoming out at like the $91 standpoint, and now we're on that market retracement to like 100. But you have near mint Japanese selling for 81, unregistered sellers. First registered seller like top seller with the gold stars at $100 near mint. And then you have, so I talked about this in my video. Now, the Ethan's Typhlosion, Misty Scyarados, all of the promos from Destined Rivals, they don't have anything different besides the Cosmos Hollow and the stamp. Otherwise, the card's the same exact card on the promo. And like this is this is down 0.75%, but I just don't see the flair about these promo cards. I personally, again, I'm not a financial advisor whatsoever, but these promos to me are just don't have a lot of appeal for collecting purposes, but that's just me. The next one we're going to look at is the Team Rocket's Mewtwo Secret, or Hyper Rare as they call it. And so this one is down 59%. So this is where it started at 165. And we're kind of starting to see that market stabilization. We're at that 67, came down 62, up to 66. But overall, since the start of the set, we are down 59%, which again is not uncommon for a modern set. And we do have a near mint for 64.52 right there, with shipping included. Same price for this one as well, just pay for shipping with tracked and insurance. So absolutely beautiful card. I think that the Hyper Rare definitely pops really well. Now, again, the same thing for the Typhlosion goes for the Gyarados. It's the same Gyarados from the set, so I'm not really going to dive too much into that. And the Tyranitar as well. All of the pre-release promos, I'm just not really interested in. There's just not any good artwork on them. They're just the generic rares from the set, so it's not very good. All right, so now we're gonna be looking at the Team Rocket's Crobat EX. So this one's actually like on the downtrend still. So we're down overall 63% since the start, where we started at sales at 167. We have Japanese near mint selling at 55, and then another top-rated seller right here at 68.94. We have Misty Scyarados. So we're starting to see that market stabilization for a lot of these cards, which is really great. The Team Rocket popularity is holding this trend good. I do think that a lot of the cheaper end illustration rares from this set are going to continue to downtrend as these bigger cards like overshadow the set chases. And again, that's not a bad thing. It's just the way that I foresee it going. So you have the Ethan's Adventure starting to stabilize here at that $58 price point. You have Light Play near mint. Nope. So 52.68 would be where I would value it at. This is the top-rated seller right there. You have Ethan's Typhlosion. So this one's going the opposite direction. So this is up 4%. Very uncommon in sets, but there's a lot of market volatility in new sets. So always be aware of that when you're looking at card value. These cards are very volatile because they are still getting printed. The set is still really new. And when you're looking at PSA 10s and great ability of cards, you want PSA 10s with low population, with really good artwork. And with these modern sets, with the quantity of cards that they're producing, that's not so much the case. And then we have the Cynthia's Garchomp. That's kind of stabilizing at that 36 price point. Not a big, if you look at it on the surface, this looks like a big drop, but in reality, it went from here at 35.96 to 33.65. So maybe $1 difference, if that. Not that big of a difference. It's just the image that you see. And then you have the Team Rocket's Giovanni right here. So again, this is starting to see that market stabilization at that $32 price point for the Giovanni. We have the Ho-Ho, the Hyper Rare. So we saw this drop here to 26. We're up 13% to 32. And so what would optimally be is that we want to see like this kind of start to stabilize at the $30 mark as the Hyper Rare for a nice little like mid-round chase. And we have a near mint at 31.36 with $2.99 shipping. That would be optimal if we saw that. And then you have the Misty Lapras, absolutely beautiful card. We are seeing that market retracement back up here. We're at 28.76 market, and this is up, where are we at? Up 12%. So again, we're not seeing that market retracement yet. So all the cards are going up or down. There's no real market stabilization. But again, the set's only been out for a couple weeks, so that's not uncommon when you're looking at new sets. Yeah, and Mega, not enough market data, but we can see recent sales about that $30 price point back. So we had the Yen Mega So Team Rocket's Ariana. We have the Mewtwo, Meowth. The Meowth I don't think gets enough love. We are seeing that market up here. So we're up 5% there. Now, when we look at the cost of illustration rares, click on that. And so, I mean, you have the Cross illustration rare at $3, Electrike at $3. So you have some really pretty illustration rares that are like on the downtrend. So it wouldn't be impossible for these to be at like $2 here in the near future. And that's going to be the optimal time to really snatch these up and add them to your collection. Rapidash is kind of starting to stabilize down here at that $9 mark. I definitely think this should be worth more. Rapidash doesn't have a lot of illustration rares or full arts, so I don't see why it's not higher kind of thing. And then you have Team Rocket's Weezing that really isn't getting enough love, and it's kind of like starting to bottom out at that $10 price point. We are down 47%, which again isn't the worst thing ever. Makes them a little bit more affordable to add to your personal collection if you're looking to add some good value at that good price point. But what we're going to really look for is we want like these bottom 6 to reach that $2 to $4 range for that. Then we have the Zamizenta. This is a really cool artwork card. Looks really pretty. And we saw this massive jump up here that went up, 31%. And then now we just plummeted back down. We're over at $6. So this is probably going to bottom out like 4. Unfortunately, I don't think this card gets enough love. So if you see this on the binder for like $4 or $5, definitely be a solid pickup as we look for that value to increase overall. And then you also have the ultra rares in this set. So you have the Garchomp, the Mewtwo, Giovanni's Rocket, the Ho-Ho, Moltres, which is absolutely stunning for an ultra rare, Persian, and then we have these cheaper ultras. Again, these are all going to be great binder cards for the foreseeable future as these start and continue to kind of like downtrend and stabilize at that $1 to $2 mark, which again is not uncommon since the ultra rares do have a better pull variability than the hyper rares or than the special illustration rares. So you have that. And we did look at most of the hyper rares, but you also have Jamming Tower that we didn't look at. You have Lavencia, and then that's all of the hyper rares. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you have the big 3 right here, and then the Team Rocket's Crobat, which again, awesome hyper rare, is right there. And so if you're looking at like overall value, if you're playing like the double rares, all the EXs, you have Cynthia's Garchomp as a $3 double rare. And so again, these are more playability cards. You're starting to see that market kind of stabilize at that $3 price point. So just, whenever you get EXs, just pay attention because some of these could be worth a couple dollars just for you guys to know. And that would be double rares. I don't know if there's any chase uncommons. That's not pre-release staff. All right, Team Rocket's Energy is $1, and then Shaman's 45 cents. So 2 uncommons chase right there. And then you have Cynthia's Gabit and Ethan's Quilava as the 2 chase commons. The 2 cards to look out for in the common section and the uncommon section as well. And that will conclude our Destined Rivals Trash Pick Thursday market review. All right, everybody, thank you so much for checking out Trash Pick Thursdays. I had an absolute blast doing that like deep market review on Destined Rivals and just kind of see where the market's at as we're pushing into week 2 and 3 of Destined Rivals being on the market. And as we saw, we are starting to see some form of market stabilization. And the real question is going to be whether or not these cards hold true to their value or we continue to see that market volatility. Don't forget, if you guys are new here, to like, comment, and subscribe. Hope everybody has a fantastic, trash-tastic day, and deuces.